Hello and welcome to this James the Bike Guy, where today we're getting a chance to take a look at Salsa's Blackthorn. Now this is a fun and rowdy full suspension mountain bike from Salsa, a manufacturer out of Minnesota, and they have a bike in front of us that they're calling a do-it-all trail to enduro bike. That's right, this bike is set up with 160 millimeters of front suspension travel, signaling enduro capability, while running a little more modest 140 millimeters of travel through a Dave Weigel split pivot design. So in this video, we're going to go into the features and designs of this bike, talk about the carbon frame, and all of the things that go into making this a pretty unique ride, and finish it out with finding out exactly what it weighs. So go ahead and stick with me, and consider subscribing if you enjoy what you see. Talking Salsa Blackthorn. The Blackthorn is Salsa's all mountain to enduro trail bike, as we talked about before, but comes in as the slightly less aggressive variant of what they also call their Cassidy. But this bike operates with the same front triangle as what you get on the Cassidy, but different linkage and design to make it more of that enduro to all mountain mix. And the carbon that they utilize on this Blackthorn frame is what's considered an EPS molded frame. Now, in a quick high-level overview, that means that this is made with an internal negative out of expanded polystyrene, and that EPS foam allows them to get very smooth internal feel to it. It pushes out any of the extra resin that's not needed and is a little more expensive way of producing a frame compared to, say, the traditional bladder molded style frames. But what you end up with is a real strong and efficient way to build out the bike, allowing them to do things like this wrap on the top where you can put all your tools, run a wrap through it, internal cable routing, which is all guided. You have a 73 millimeter threaded bottom bracket, and out back it connects up to carbon seat stays, but the chain stays on the bike are aluminum, while still having the carbon fiber seat stay that drives through some linkage up to this Fox Float X rear shock. Now, when I was talking about it earlier, this is 140 millimeters of rear suspension travel through what they're calling a split pivot. Now, split pivot is a design from Dave Weigel, a famed suspension designer in the mountain bike world that operates using a concentric bearing setup. So through the seat stay and the chain stay connection is the through axle, which allows the suspension design to isolate braking as well as pedaling forces. So that means when you get onto the brakes, it doesn't lock out the suspension of the bike. When you're on the pedals, you get a little bit of anti-squat characteristics where it drives down that rear wheel, helping the bike pedal and be more efficient, but while still having good bump compliance. This rear suspension is adjustable, of course, with a flip chip, so you can adjust the seat tube angle and the head tube angle by 0.3 degrees. The front end is connected to the ground via this Rockshox Lyrik front fork through 160 millimeters of suspension travel. So plenty of suspension travel to be able to control the bike, top tube mounts for storage, and a mount down here on the down tube to be able to run a 26-ounce bottle if you wanted to, which is pretty cool, along with, of course, all this rubber frame protection and all those good things to keep this bike going. And into geometry we go with a head tube angle in the low setting of 64.6 degrees, a seat tube angle of 76.5 degrees, a chainstay length of 432 millimeters, and interestingly, this bike can be set up with both the 29-inch wheels like we have on it right now, or you can go mid-fat with a 27.5 by 2.8 to 3.0 tire width. Now, of course, in the 29er format, like it's set up from the factory, max tire width is a 2.6, and Salsa is going to be running this bike with an Assegai front tire and a 29 by 2.5 and a Maxxis dissector in the rear and a 29 by 4.0. So you can still go a little bit wider if you wanted to, but of course these dissectors, fast rolling but very grippy rear tire, and then that Assegai is a crowd favorite, at least here in New England, for a nice front tire with these large, strong blocks, but still ramped knobs, so it doesn't slow you down too much. Going past that, This being an SLX version does mean we're running Shimano componentry. So we've got some Shimano Deore 4-piston brakes, and on the back is a Shimano SLX rear derailleur operating through a 10 to 51 tooth rear cassette, driving forward through that SLX crankset. And then the cockpit is all alloy with a Salsa stem. And something I really like is that top cap there is actually a tool to be able to loosen up or tighten up the split pivot bolts if you needed to. See how it's the same design? But outside of that little bit of geekery, this is a Salsa stem with a race face handlebar. Some specs are going to come with a Salsa handlebar, depends on your bike. And then out back is the WTB Volt saddle on a dropper C-post. And so now that we've taken a look at all the features and designs of this Salsa Blackthorn, I think it's time to find out what it weighs. The actual weight of the Salsa Blackthorn comes in and weighs 33.62 pounds. Oh, and one cool little feature you can see here, look at that. See setup guide online, but it gives you the rear shock and the fork sag right on the top tube. That's a sticker you can pull off, but love that they do that.